This is the video I wish I watched before I became a mother. We really underestimate the sleep deprivation and the mental exhaustion of like a crying baby and the burping and the sleepless nights and all that. The toll it actually takes on you mentally actually does affect your ability to show up at work. Since I actually became a mom, I've had to turn down jobs for going out of town or for sleeping away from my baby. What that actually means is that I'm actually leaving money on the table. Now imagine that, a declining income but with increasing costs. Very rarely will you actually be able to decrease your spending, because at the least they are actually increasing, because now you have diapers, you will have formulas, others will have to get 1 or 2 people to actually help you around. I hope that you know, especially if you're not pregnant right now and you plan to get pregnant in the near future, or you know that you are engaging in activities that could render you pregnant anytime soon, you need to get medical cover before you get pregnant. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Finance Friday. I'm very happy to have you guys on here. We are shooting at Sarova Panafric as per usual for all our Finance Friday episodes this year. We've been here, we've really been enjoying it. Sarova is one of the best chain of hotels here in Kenya. For any of your needs, whether it is just that random brunch with the girls within CBD, or maybe you want to do like a meeting, a birthday party, or even just a training for your team, this is the perfect place with the perfect ambience, the perfect food, the perfect conference facilities. And if you just want to chill, there's an amazing pool deck with an amazing restaurant with good music for just hanging out over the weekend. So please feel free to check out Sarova Panafric anytime you are around the Nairobi CBD. However, even if you're not in the CBD, please check out the rest of the chain hotels in the different cities that we have here in Kenya. All right, so guys, today's topic is something that is very close to my heart. 1 year ago, about a year ago, I became a mother, and my boy actually turned 1 year, like maybe a week or 2 ago. I don't know what time this video is actually gonna be going up, but it's sometime in August, and it's been an amazing journey, amazing ride. However, there are aspects about it that I felt would be important to discuss on this channel, because on this channel we have raw and real conversations about money. So for today's episode, I felt it would be very important for me to actually talk about my personal experience about how becoming a mother, or just generally the aspect of motherhood, has affected my finances. So I actually want to talk about the untold truths that I've personally experienced about how motherhood affects your finances as a woman. And honestly, this is the video I wish I watched before I became a mother. So if this is something you'd be interested to find out, please keep watching. So I did put down some notes just so that I don't forget anything. Can we have that as like the first effect? Brain fog and mommy brain. Anyway, I'm kidding, guys, but yeah, it's actually a real thing. So I think for me, the first thing that a money reality that I wish I was better prepared for is that the mental and the emotional toll that motherhood actually takes on you in the first year will actually result in financial toll as well. So for context, actually I posted this on my Instagram video at some point. I mean, on my Instagram page at some point, earlier on in the year. Actually, around April, my auditor and I were obviously now closing our books for the year 2024. And, we were filing our taxes. And this guy kept like calling me and telling me, hey, we need to like have a meeting and we need to chat before, we finish the filing and then we pay and whatnot. So normally that's not something we will always do. But for this year, we actually had to sit down and have a conversation. And he was very worried because he noticed that my revenues had declined between 2023 and 2024. My revenue had actually declined by around 48%. So he was just like, Kwani, what has been going on and whatnot? Obviously, I tend to put like, or rather to keep my personal life private a little bit on the internet. So it's not like it was common knowledge that, I was pregnant or that I had a baby and things like that. So, of course, people did know after the fact. So of course, he was very concerned, and he was like, Susan, what's going on? Connie, what's been happening in the business and stuff like that? Like, the numbers are not adding up. And I remember just telling him, yeah, they actually, this is right. This is what I made. So between 2023, of course, 2023, I wasn't pregnant, but like 2024 coming into 2025, obviously, I obviously took the 9 months where I was pregnant. Of course, the hospital visits on and off. And then we had like the first 3 to 4 months, 5 months, maybe of my baby's life that I wasn't actively coaching, which means I wasn't actively earning. So obviously because of that, the revenue significantly declined. So that's the first aspect. And I'd already started picking up on it. When I was pregnant and even after the baby came, I could already tell that, everything has changed, even in terms of how much money I'm actually bringing, into the business. Now, the thing that I was not prepared for, and this is what for me has been at the back of my mind, is that we really, really underestimate, especially as a working woman. So whether you're working in corporate or you're working, as a self-employed entrepreneur like myself, or maybe you're just a guy listening to this video and wondering how you can best support the woman in your life. The sleep deprivation and the mental exhaustion of like a crying baby and the burping and the sleepless nights and all that, the toll it actually takes on you mentally actually does affect your ability to show up at work. So for me as an entrepreneur, obviously it affected how well can I actually show up even here on YouTube? How well can I show up on Instagram? And my 2 social media platforms are actually my money makers. Beyond that aspect of social media and marketing, how well am I actually able to show up for coaching, my clients, and even training, going to trainings, going to out of town? Since I actually became a mom, I've had to turn down jobs for going out of town or for sleeping away from my baby because, of course, of that vulnerable stage. What that actually means is that I'm actually leaving money on the table as well. So you will feel the effect financially when all of this is happening. So this is one of the things, it's like, that motherhood will actually change your life, and that there's all these beautiful things it comes with, and that of course it's gonna have a couple of demands on you, but I don't think anyone really does prepare some of us in terms of like what that means for you in terms of how much money you can bring home. So since I became a mother in the past year that I've parented, I have in an unprecedented number of times had to cancel paying clients. Like someone actually paid for a session, but last night we got sick, or last night something happened, or today the nanny left. I'm not actually able to sit down on a Zoom call for 2 hours because it's just me and the baby. Or maybe my partner also had a meeting and we had to make a compromise. So all of that has actually culminated to canceling a lot of maybe paying clients, having to refund some people, saying no to some jobs, getting called to interviews that could literally, connect me to the right places, the right companies to work for or train. Like all of that has culminated to just, that significant decline in the amount of money that I've actually been able to bring into the business in comparison to other months. So I think maybe even for from an employed woman perspective, there's that aspect of probably having to take so much, leaves from the office. Like today you can't come in, or the other day you have to come in late. That is something that you actually have to think about. So if I was to go back, or if I was to tell someone who is an aspiring mom or someone who's planning to have children in the future, I feel like this is something that we need to actually prepare for. As you are doing your baby showers, bridal showers, getting excited about becoming a mother, you need to think about the impact of, being a mom on your finances, your ability to command better pay at the office. So all of this is things that, you actually need to think about and to plan for, so that you can, be strategic. Is your partner going to be stepping in, or are you going to, adjust your budget and your spending down just so that you can be able to accommodate this? And, even in retrospect, as I think about it, because I will be sharing some of the things that I also think I did right. However, it all this has not happened because of a lack of planning or of a lack of being strategic. It has happened because I think I really did underestimate the bandwidth that motherhood would actually require from me, and therefore steal that from my business. So I think that's one of the things that I would really like to highlight: the mental toll, the emotional toll, the exhaustion, and the sleep deprivation will actually trickle into how much money you're able to make, and even how people perceive or see you, in a professional setting. Now, the second thing, and this is the kicker, guys, this is just, hey, let me tell you, it's on steroids, because now imagine that a declining income, but with increasing costs. So one of the, it's so funny because now that I think about it, there's so many things that I did not have as costs anymore. I'm grateful that I've not been in a position where I've lacked or I've been like financially strained to the point that I cannot afford those things. But you definitely see the numbers racking up. I use an app called Money Manager to track my expenses. And guys, I kid you not, house shopping has significantly increased. Obviously, like before it was just my husband and I. Now it's my husband and I, a nanny, sometimes one or two family members, just because of that additional help that we require. So like the food budget, for example, just skyrocketed. And then of course, not to mention child costs. Things like, a nanny that I did not have, now I have to pay, maybe sometimes someone extra to come help with, like, let's say cleaning. You guys know the usual, the diapers, the clothes that you can buy something yesterday and then tomorrow they've outgrown it, and so on and so forth. I know I'm preaching to the choir. So if you're a mom, you already know this. However, as someone who actually tracks my spending, I've actually noticed that as much as my income has decreased, and this is what really made me think that we need to be better in terms of how to strategize around parenthood, because as much as our income is declining, sometimes when your income is declining, the obvious choice is that, okay, just look at your finances and see what you can reduce. The truth of the matter is that when you're a mom, at least for me, in my experience, very rarely will you actually be able to decrease your spending, because at the least they are actually increasing, because now you have diapers. Some of you will have formulas. Others will have to get one or two people to actually help you around. Let's not talk about the medical visit. Do you know, guys, as I shoot this video, everyone who's, been in the crew today has just been, has had me complain since I came here, because like last night I was in hospital till like maybe 1:30. We got home at around 2 a.m. I was up by 5 a.m. And that's just a random Tuesday. Like this has happened a lot. Like we've had admissions, we've had emergency runs into the hospital, and that's normal. So one of the things I've actually been grateful about is the fact that I actually have like a good medical cover. But even as I think at the back of my mind, one of the things that I would actually tell anyone who is planning to become a mom and is not yet a mom, or who would like to plan better for maybe your next babies, guys, I feel like these two things are severely underrated when it comes to motherhood. And that is you actually having a liquid emergency fund, because these emergencies will always come up, especially from what I've noticed in my experience. This first year has been full of emergencies and full of things that I could not have planned for or foreseen. So that's one thing I would say. Honestly, your emergency fund is so important if you're going to be getting into this season of motherhood. And then another thing is to actually get a good medical insurance. This medical cover has really, really come through for us, because as much as you say, you want to, have an emergency fund, like for example, there was a time when my boy was like around 4-5 months, we got admitted maybe around 4 days. And that was a bit of, a good amount of money. And if we had to dent our emergency fund for that, we would actually really feel it. So it's very, very important for you to have, I would call this double trouble. You need at least these two. Please make sure that you have a good emergency fund that is liquid and accessible, and make sure that if you can afford it, please get a medical insurance. If for a reason you're not able to get like a comprehensive medical insurance, prioritize the inpatient, because of course, I mean, even the outpatient, honestly, like of course, because of the clinics, the jabs, the checkups and whatnot, you'll actually end up spending quite a bit on outpatient as well. But I feel like that is something that you can bootstrap if on the worst case scenario, you're completely unable to pay for comprehensive. However, the inpatient, if at all your child is admitted or they need to get surgery or they need to just, anything needs to be done to them and they need to stay in the hospital for more than a day or two, they need medication, they need follow-ups, you will actually require that medical insurance. So I think that is very, very important. So even as, you're thinking about what are some of the money realities, I feel like I'm not saying these things are going to, as a way of taking away the joy of motherhood. I still think it's the most beautiful thing ever. However, it can take away from that beauty if you're struggling financially, because one of the biggest demands you will have as a mother, as a parent, other than the demand on your time and the demand on your body, especially as a woman, the other demand that you will have that will be at an all-time high is the demand for money. So whether we like it or not, that's a conversation you need to have with yourself. That's a conversation you need to have with whoever you're siring babies with. It's very, very important to have cash flow during this season. The third money reality I would want to highlight is the issue to do with medical insurance. And of course, the insurance gaps that I have actually noticed. I think I would want to highlight 3 things, okay, that I think are very, very important. This is a money reality in Kenya right now that we cannot ignore. Number 1, I hope that you know, especially if you're not pregnant right now and you plan to get pregnant in the near future, or you know that you are engaging in activities that could render you pregnant anytime soon, you need to get medical cover before you get pregnant, guys. I don't know. We need to put this on a billboard, because if I had $1 for every time someone has come into my DMs or into my emails and they're asking me, Susan, I did a pregnancy test. I realized I'm pregnant. Where can I get a medical cover? Sis, you ain't getting no cover. You're not getting any cover at all, because the way insurance works, they don't insure after the fact. They insure they insure before it happens, because it's like a probabilities game. Is that if you actually do get pregnant, then you will spend this money. But if you don't get pregnant this year, then you won't spend that money. But you can't wait until you're actually pregnant to try and get the insurance cover. So please make sure, if you are engaging in grown-up things that could render you pregnant, please make sure you actually get that medical cover right now if you would like your delivery and the costs for the baby to actually be taken care of. Okay? Now, if you are already pregnant and you're watching me and you're just like, hey, so now what will happen? Do I have to pay cash? If you don't want to pay cash, you could consider an SME cover. I know not every company actually offers the SME covers. However, I've seen people using that as a hack. Most SME covers do not actually have a waiting period for maternity, so you could do that, although it's gonna cost you slightly higher. The thing about an SME cover, though, is that you actually have to come together as individuals or people who own businesses, or like if you're a small business owner like myself. This is actually really good for entrepreneurs. I have known people to come together who are entrepreneurs and maybe take a cover together as an SME. So if you actually are not able to get the individual cover because you are already pregnant, for that one, they're not going to offer you any maternity cover. However, in the SME cover, some of them, a good example is the AAR SME cover. They actually do not have any waiting periods for the maternity. So because it's considered like a company cover. Okay. So that's a hack I could give you. So that's the first thing I wanted to highlight in terms of insurance gaps. Number 2, if you are already having an account with Shift, I know we don't like hearing this, but please do not wait until you're at the counter, at the cashier, and you're trying to like discharge your wife, or you're trying to get discharged yourself. And that is when you're actually thinking of adding your significant other onto the cover, or when you're actually thinking of course, the child will be added, at some point, if you can add them as quickly as possible, that would be great. But please, ninyi watu, kwanza kama you've married each other and your spouses, please add each other onto Shift. I know you think it is nothing, but I mean, like for me, there was an aspect of the the bed costs that were actually covered by shift. When we were admitted, there was an aspect of the baby's costs that were covered by shift. It is not all that money. It's not a lot of money, but it is something. Right now, as we are speaking, as you're watching this, look at your spouse, your partner, or whoever you're in bed with, and confirm that you guys have actually added each other. Especially as a woman, just make sure that your husband has actually onboarded you. You've onboarded your child. If you already have like a baby, please onboard your people onto shift. I've seen people getting frustrated at the counter when they're trying. It's at night. Like, I mean, even yesterday, because we left the hospital so late. I mean, we had a case of someone whose child actually needed surgery, and like they were just trying to kind of like find out the onboarding process and how can they get covered and whatnot. And it is 2 a.m. Who is present in a government office at that particular point, or who will even activate that for you if in case there are issues? So I feel like those insurance gaps are very, very important. Number 3, and lastly, please, if you have a private insurance cover, understand which hospitals you can actually go to, the different tiers of hospitals that you are allowed under your insurance, and then also understand the sub-limits, because there are certain aspects and you'll be told, okay, for this particular thing, fine, your overall limit could be 1 million or it could be 2 million. However, for the different specific like small issues, you could hear that, oh, for surgery, we cover up to 300,000 only. So even if your overall like cover is maybe 1 million, but like for that particular category they can only cover for 300. I've noticed a lot of us don't know our sub limit. So it's very, very important, if you're gonna be having little ones, if you're gonna be delivering, please make sure that you actually are prepared for some of those things. And even pre-delivery, especially if you're going to be going with a private insurance, you're going to a private hospital, maybe you even have a private gyna, you need to actually get things like pre-authorization to confirm that the insurance will actually pay for that private gyna, that they will pay for that private room. And if they're not going to pay, you need to know, so what is my limit and how much am I actually going to add on top? So all of this just speaks into the roller coaster that is taking care of the health scares and the repetitive nature of being in and out of hospital. That could cost you a lot of money if you're not smart about how you're planning. The fourth money reality about motherhood that I was not prepared for, that I wish someone talked to me about, especially knowing my personality, is how much I would have to pause on my goals. Before the baby, Susan was always learning. Susan was upskilling. Susan is like going here, stretching, doing things, involving herself in things. Now Susan has a curfew. Like, kuna masaa yenye sifai kukua nje. Oh my goodness. I mean, it is a lot in terms of like the adjustment and the change. And it's not just, of course, physically, like not being able to go out of town or not being able to come home at this particular time of the hour, but really it is about like how much the dedication in terms of, bandwidth, and in terms of time and in terms of energy. So because of that, I think, genuinely, Mimi, I can speak for myself. Like, Sekwa Najua, I knew it was gonna be hard, but I just did not know the impact truly. So I think one of the money realities you need to be prepared for if you're gonna be getting into this season of motherhood is that, especially if you want to be a present mother and you want to give your child what children need, because children do need their mothers. I know there's my story huku nje about what we can do as empowered women and what we cannot do as empowered women. But the truth of the matter is that as it's their biological right, it's a need. God created us for it. We are fully equipped for this role. But that does not mean that it is going to just be a walk in the park, right? So one of the things that I wish I was prepared about is the fact that I'm not going to be moving as fast as I used to move. I mean, heck, I know you guys thought I was joking when I started this video, but like, I mean, even the way my brain used to work, it's not working like that anymore in terms of remembering things, in terms of just being that, because I'm a type 1 personality, or do they call them type A's? Like very, very quick. I'm an executor. I get things done quickly. I don't forget things. I'm like, I move. I'm a mover, literally, right? And now I've found myself in seasons where like I could literally go 3 days without doing a task that could have easily just taken me 30 minutes to do, just because of all the demands on my time. I just try to get on my laptop like this to do something. The screams, the demands, the cries, unless I leave the house. If I leave the house, I have mommy guilt. I'm just like, oh my God, sasa nimemwacha, ni pesa gani natafuta yenye it's so important that I had to leave him crying and things like that. So there's that, you're gonna go through an identity shift that will result in a bit of slowing down when it comes to your academic goals, your work goals, your career goals. It's not happening to everyone. I'm just sharing my experience. I've noticed that there's that aspect of, much as women are sold that you can have it all, like you can be a wife, be a mom, at the same time slay in the corporate world and slay as a business owner. That kind of woman is burnt out and she's on the verge of losing her mind. You really cannot have it all. On the days that I'm really, really killing it at the workplace and in the business, there's something I've abandoned back at home. I've left my baby. I'm missing my baby. I have mommy guilt. There's, people can't remember the last time they saw me or spoke to me, or, if I'm trying to juggle, like I'm winning at motherhood, I'm winning it in the business, maybe I'm winning it in the wife department, it means I've self-abandoned. I can't remember the last time I just took a nice long shower without interruptions, or I can't remember the last time I just was able to enjoy my own company. That's just the trade-off that happens. So I think one of the things that I would tell anyone, if you're a young woman watching me right now and you want to get married at some point, you want to be a mom at some point, these are some of the things that, they don't tell you, and I wish they did. It's not to scare you, but really it's to tell you that you actually need to make that decision from, not just a societal pressure perspective. You really need to be in a mental and an emotional and a spiritual state to actually be ready to deal with those quote unquote, for lack of a better word, negative aspects that come with that season of motherhood. So that pausing is good because it means that you are accepting of the season that you are in. That pausing is good because it means that you're trying your best to be a present and an active parent. However, it will cost you. So be ready to be costed. Opportunities. It will cost you your ability to show up in certain rooms. It will cost you your ability to go hard on your business. And it will cost you for a while. So for a period of your time, a money reality is that you're not going to be growing professionally for a period, not forever, for a period. And because of that, you will actually begin to see that could impact you financially. But most importantly, I feel like it takes us like a couple of months or a couple of years back professionally, especially for women working in C-suite level, the corporate space. You're always like the lady who's asking for permission from HR all the time. If it's not this, it's another thing. So I think it's good to be prepared for that and to think about how, well, you can't avoid it and you can't mitigate against it. However, you can be smart about how you approach it. All these last 4 points that I've actually discussed have been in terms of like how all the mental and emotional moving parts of motherhood will actually come and trickle down into your finances. And the truth of the matter is that motherhood will actually cost you. It will cost you time, it will cost you money, and it will cost you progress. Whether you are a good planner or not, whether you are intentional or not, that is the reality of it. So what does that look like? Obviously, there's a lot we can talk about today. The topic wasn't just motherhood, it was motherhood and money. I know you guys can actually let me know in the comment section. If you are a mom, since you actually became a mother, how has that looked like for you, even mentally and emotionally? If I told you guys the number of times that I've had to, give myself a pep talk, the number of times that I'm just crying randomly because it is hard. Of course, there's now the other part of it, the emotional bit of it, the physical bit of it, looking at your new body, accepting and all of that. That is like a story for another day. However, the truth of the matter is that there is a cost that is attached to it. And I feel like in the money aspect, as we are preparing mothers, we never prepare them for the aspect that it's like you're just growing in your career, you're flying high, and you think that I'm going to become a mother and all that will just remain constant. It's going to be rocked for a moment. I don't know for how long, because I'm still in it. For me, it's been a year. I don't know for how much longer. However, I think that is a money reality that I would actually like to highlight. Now, as a self-employed woman, the implications of it, I feel, have even been greater, because I feel like in an office setting, even if I've had a couple of few bad days or a couple of few bad months, like I have that ability. I feel like in an office setting, you can just show up, do the bare minimum. It's like at the back of your mind, you just still know that a salary will, come into your account. However, as a business owner, for all the women who are watching me, who are entrepreneurs, freelancers, and business people, I honestly feel, because the demands on the business, especially if the business really depends on you, then it means that when you stop, momentarily the business always stops. So in the next video that I'm going to be posting next week, I would actually like to take you through what I did to prepare myself financially for maternity leave, because when my baby came, I was able to take at least 5 months off the business without actively working and without actively earning. And there were some things that I did and that I put in place to be able to have that luxury, because the truth of the matter is that it is a luxury for a self-employed person to be able to take 5 to 6 months off the business and still be able to come back and bounce back. Maybe not as it used to be, but at least have that ability to come back and still continue earning from that business. I think that's something I would like to share with you guys. So if you'd be interested to know how you can actually prepare yourself financially and structure your finances in a way that it can prepare you for, the financial implications of motherhood, the financial implications of taking maternity leave, as a self-employed woman, or if you just like to know what would it take for me to actually take even a year off from my workplace or from my career to maybe raise my babies, I'm going to be sharing you what I did to actually financially prepare for this particular journey, especially the first half of this year where I wasn't actively earning. Let's be honest. Let's be honest about the cost. Let me know in the comment section, if you're already a mom, what has been the cost you've had to pay, especially financially, since you became a mom. We are not just talking about the negative things. We are just preparing each other. So let me know if you have any questions for me in the comment section. But that was just, my experience with motherhood, at least for this first year. So if you're interested to know how to financially prepare, please, turn on your notification bell and subscribe to this channel so that you can be notified when I upload the next video next week, where we now talk about the actual financial preparation that I did.